Salida, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the review of the new Anomalie album, Visions. Anomalie are an Austrian post-black metal project that was formed in 2011 and has been quite diligent ever since indeed, with their current album Visions being their third one released. This is also a one-person project by Marok, who also happens to be a live guitarist for the quite excellent Harakiri for the Sky. And if you know Harakiri for the Sky, you can kinda see the guy naturally has experience with modern black metal as a result of this cooperation. Visions, however, starts you off calm and slow, with sounds of a fire burning, a little wind chime, and an acoustic guitar getting strummed a bit, with core-like singing and humming going on. It sets a nice mood, reminds me a bit of Agalog's Mirror of the Spirit intro actually. After about 2.5 minutes it stops and the metal sets in. Electric guitars, drums, aggressively growled vocals, all that good stuff. I have to say I really like Marok's pitch for the vocals. On the one side it sounds raw and animalistic as it should, but not so much that it gives you trouble understanding what he actually says, or rather sings. It's just the right amount of roughness, contributing to the atmosphere of the tracks, but still being understandable. I also really like his clean spoken vocals, even though you will hear those far, far less. Most of the vocals sound like such dry screams that you just have to wonder if Marok started spitting blood during the recording session because he refused to drink anything in between. Anomalie take you on an almost 50 minutes long journey that mixes modern black metal with a very spiritual atmosphere here, and looking at the music videos they've put out for the album, I have the feeling that this is exactly the atmosphere they were going for too. And while it uses aggressive compositions, sometimes more so than other times, and the hypnotic repetition of riffs and short melody pieces black metal is so known for, it never really sounds like old school black metal, while still keeping the spirit in there though. The atmosphere of this album is not as cold as true black metal, it's not as hard, and the repetition not as stretched out, and the production sounds better, actually a bit too good for my taste in places. But there's this black heart beating at the core of this album nonetheless. If Visions commits any sins, it's that at the end of the day it comes off as quite iterative. If you listen to a lot of metal, especially modern black metal, you will probably feel like this is at least partially treated ground. I didn't find this too annoying because the compositions and the lyrics are interesting and clearly done by someone who knows how to control his instruments. But I feel Marok could have done more, especially since he got praised in the past by some outlets for leading modern black metal into new areas for his debut album. Visions doesn't really do that, I feel, but unless you're the kind of person who is hardcore into experimental music, the kind of listener who just needs innovation at any price, I honestly don't think this will be a problem for you. And if you are that kind of listener, you're also probably not listening to black metal of all things. In itself, the album delivers a good amount of diversity to keep things interesting while listening to it. You have tracks like A Monument, which starts out with this really mystical ambient part before throwing you into a really, really black riff that gets carried on through the song behind all the other instruments going on. Illumination throws in a piano solo near the end while wind is blowing in the background, and the closing track, One with the Soil, features Heike Langhans, who you might know from the Swedish band Draconian. There sure is enough diversity and change of pace here that keep the album interesting at all times. But in the grand scheme of things, at some point it really just feels like, well, another modern black metal album. Something we have heard before in some way. If you listen to a lot of this kind of music, chances are you will like what you hear, but you won't be surprised a whole lot by it either. And if you dig modern black metal, Visions has some almost touching moments really. Last but not least, thanks to the lyrics that at some points feel almost intimate and make you wonder how much of the artist's life is actually behind one or the other line of text you will hear. Last but not least, this is underlined by the depressive bass mood of this album that it emits throughout the whole playthrough. But again, these are basically staples of good albums of this genre, and how much of this matters to you is entirely up to personal taste. So, to come to a conclusion here, Visions is by no means a bad album. Not at all. It delivers compelling, interesting, and well crafted music all around. Not a single song on this album is what I would consider a dud. But in the same vein, it falls short a bit. It gives you thrashing riffs and dreamy soundscapes while never forgetting the black metal roots, and it draws you in. It might not be a masterpiece of innovation, it might not break new ground, but at the end of the day, it's still a pretty damn good modern black metal album. Thick with atmosphere, and I don't regret a minute I spent with it. For fans of modern black metal, or those that maybe want to become one, there is lots to like on this album. Just don't expect this album to invent the wheel anew, because in that case, you will be sorely disappointed. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this review, and if you did, please just leave a like or subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet to get regular German music reviews on your feed and maybe the occasional opinion piece if I find the time for it. If you have listened to the album or maybe a few tracks of it, please feel also free to leave a comment and tell me what you thought about it. You can also follow Sounds German on Facebook or Twitter. I do regularly post new music videos, audio snippets, stuff like that on there, whatever I can find in the week. So if you want to get regularly new music, you can follow me on one of those two pages. Thank you very much for watching. Have a nice day. I hope to see you again next time. Salida!